guys, welcome back to another video. This week as you can tell by the title, we are doing a how to color skin tones in iArtBook. I was requested this. Love Yourself here on YouTube. She asked me if I could do this video for her, and I said yeah, sure. Usually when you guys request videos, I put it to the top of my list to do. So yeah, this week we are doing that. I've realized I've never done one for Procreate, so I probably plan on doing one for Procreate too. But yeah, I've been experimenting a little bit in iArtBook. So to practice some of the skin tones, bringing my knowledge from Procreate into iArtBook, I did these 4 circles, getting down like the basic colors of skin tones down. I did 4. You could do more if you like. This is the 4 I mainly go off of. Because each skin tone has something different, and if anything in that variation, you could practically use these same colors for it, but just move them towards that color. Like I'll show you guys once I start doing a little illustration with each 4 colors of skin tones. But for the top left one is a more olivey green skin tone with a little bit of redness, to still show that's like a living being. You have blood going through our body, so I like to bring a reddish tone to each skin tone. Even the darker ones, it just has to be more of a darker reddish pinkish purple kind of color. So yeah, I did that for the top left, and then for the top right is a more redder skin tone. I see this more commonly with redheads and things like that. That would be a good time to use this skin tone. And then I do a pretty much like a pinkish purplish tone for the shadow for that one. For the one on the left is more of a caramel skin tone, a lighter brown, and then I use a purple for the shadow. And then for the darkest skin tone I have here, which is close to my complexion, I use a pretty saturated purple to give the skin more interest and more color. And yeah, that is the 4 skin tones I'm going to work with today, and the 4 basic ones I could see most people using or wanting to use. And yeah, so that is what we're going to do. Let's get into the drawing. Okay, so I drew out a girl. I duplicated her 4 times. Don't mind her shoes. If you guys know me, I don't know, shoes are just hard for me. If you're new to this channel, I don't do shoes. So I did a drawing really quickly. It was not that quick, but as quick as possible, so I could show you guys how I color more effectively skin tones and things like that. And yeah, let's get into it. So first, if you've seen most of my videos in Procreate or in iArtBook, I'm going to always start off with coloring the base color first. This is just to help me get down an idea of the skin tone I want or I'm going for. So for the first shadow, I usually go to a more reddish tone, so it doesn't look too cold. You always go to the left of that color slider, and then the hue slider, and then I go down a little bit, just a little bit, after picking the color, and then I use that color as my first shadow for the character. For the brush size, I always usually try to go bigger, so I could get a good hazy cast for the first shadow. I don't want a sharp line between the mid-tone and the first shadow, so I try to make it where it looks seamless as possible. And then I start shading. I go around the edges. I always try to pick out a light source. I usually don't do that until I'm already drawing sometimes, or sometimes I do it before knowing what I'm going for in the drawing. But I pick for this light source to be at the right of the character, so everything on the left of the character is going to be a little darker. And then I do the same for all of the rest of the 3 characters. I just use a redder tone and a darker redder tone from their skin tone already, and I color in their shadow more towards the left side because the light source is on the right. And a good thing to do if you also are a beginner at skin tones is to keep color palettes in your color library. If you have a hard time picking colors each time, that could help if you need that. But yeah.
I just wanna talk to you. I just wanna talk to you. I just wanna talk to you. 'Cause just wanna talk to you.
Now is when I usually start the second layer of shadow, which is going to be the darkest shadow. I usually go to the right side of the hue slider, and I use like depending on the skin tone, I go more purple. If the darker, the more purple I go. So the first one we're doing is a little more lighter in skin tone, so I'm using more of a pinkish reddish tone for her deepest shadow, and I have it and I bring it down from her hue that the same hue I used or tone I used from the first shadow. I bring the color picker down a little bit more, and I select that color as the deepest shadow to use for the deepest darks of the shadow parts. Like all the way to the left would have one, and then all the way to the right edges I usually do it. Or like how the clothing overlaps your skin, I put a line of that shadow underneath. And I do the same for the rest of them, using a darker, more purpley or color each time. This darker the skin tone goes.
Had lie beneath your voice and your whispers and kisses of another dimension. Yeah. I just need time at a poolside. Yeah, white wine on the moonlight. Yeah, I got a whole lot of affection. Got it, and I got a question. How you defy all logic? Are you alien, angel, gods? Love, but still, you're simply wonderful. And all that you are. You're simply wonderful. And all that we've got.
Now after I finish doing all the shadows and the shadowing, and I go on to adding blush to the skin tone. I find this helps with adding a little bit more of a believable like reddish tone to the skin, especially in the darker skin tones, because it kind of just looks very orange. It doesn't have really much of a balance, and it doesn't make the character look believable. So what helps with that is adding the little reddish blush. I like to do, I do it on a separate layer usually, and how I do it is from the base, the mid-tone, I use that same color, and I go to probably the like most compatible reddish pinkish color for them. For the lighter skin tones I go more red, for the darker skin tones I go more purple, like how I do with the shadows. But I don't go anywhere darker. I slide the color picker to the right of the skin, that mid-tone layer, in a reddish or a purplish tone, and I use that as the blush color. And I just go around on the top of the cheeks and the nose, a little bit around the forehead, shadowing. I try to go over a little bit of the shadows when I do blush, and it helps just make the character look a lot better, a lot more fleshed out, a lot more human-like, instead of very fake, and like the skin looks off usually when you don't have the blush. So that's why I like to add it. And yeah. Now for usually my favorite part of coloring skin tone, I add a extra highlight, or a highlight to the skin tone where the light source is coming from. I usually add it right on the part of the skin that the midtone is still showing, just a smaller area of light to show, you know, that's the light source coming on there. And yeah, I like harsher lighting, so, and highlights, so I usually go from the mid-tone color, I select that, and then I go up, and I usually use that tone, and I use that as the highlighter for the skin tone. I go with a smaller brush so it doesn't take up too much of the mid-tone. You can still see the mid-tone underneath the highlight, and I just do a dash. For certain areas I just do a line, and some areas I have to smudge out to make it look a little more neater. Like in the face, I usually have to smudge it out a little bit more. But other than that, I usually just add a line, and it just adds a lot more depth to the skin tone, and it just makes it look a lot more interesting to look at. And that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will talk to you guys next week with another video. If you guys have any more questions about coloring skin tones and things like that, just leave them below in the comments. I use the same formula kind of for how I do things in Artbook for how I do things in Procreate. So they could be applied to both softwares or iPad apps. So yeah, thank you guys for 784 subscribers, and I will talk to you guys next week with another video. Bye guys. This world is closed. Never before did she see herself wanting